and welcome to FirstPlay's personal section, in which a member of the team opens up about their key gaming experiences while the rest of us stand around and judge them silently. This week, Editor-in-Chief and Sunday gaming driver Tim Clark tells us about the exquisite highs and gear-grinding lows of falling hopelessly in love with Gran Turismo 5.
So we should probably begin this with a confession, which is that in the 8 or 9 years I've been working for various official PlayStation magazines, I've never really liked the Gran Turismo series, which is kind of something that goes with the job description. Each time when a new Gran Turismo comes out, I've convinced myself that this would be the one that I would get into. I would learn how to manipulate gear ratios, I would understand probably racing lines and braking distances, and I would plough through the license mode, but I've always kind of fallen short. And I think that's because there's obviously a coldness and a clinicalness to the game. It is, after all, the real driving simulator. And for me, kind of reared on Sega arcade games and the Burnout series, like I just like ploughing into other cars and bends and walls and pedestrians and just looning it around tracks. So I've always struggled to get on with it. But with the, some might say, ludicrously delayed release of GT5, when it finally arrived, I once again decided to have another crack at mastering it. For some reason, this time, it really stuck, it really kind of bit, and I became hooked. And partly that's because I think, perhaps it's because I spent more years driving a real car, but I really understood the handling and could see how brilliant and deep it was. But I also, for me, felt like this was the most fun GT in a while. There was a real sense of speed that I felt I'd been lacking before. And because I wasn't, like some of the other reviewers who are a bit more critical, hadn't been exposed to the kind of GT life type mode where you're grinding and ploughing your way through rubbish cars for ages on it, and I found it incredibly, I mustn't say addictive, but I did find it quite addictive. So obviously you start out in a rubbish 20,000 credit Honda Civic, and I was quite cheerful, like ploughing my way through the baby races and picking up credits and getting into that kind of moreish, always chasing the next goal, the next car. Worked my way up from there to a Mustang, a big, ugly US muscle car, fundamentally because I've seen one parked outside my house, and I'd always wondered what it'd be like to drive. The answer is like a rocket-powered bucket with an arse that swings out. And I built up more and more credits, and then you start looking into the dealership mode and picking kind of what your next dream buy is going to be. And I, at this point, had my eye on Nissan GTR, which they call Baby Godzilla over there. It's the most affordable supercar and a big, brutish thing. And I've always fantasised about owning one in real life. Not having 50 grand to spare probably isn't going to happen. So I finally get the credits together to buy this car, and sure enough, it goes like an absolute exocet, so much so that my brain can't really compute how to control it at first. Now, I should probably explain as a caveat that all the way through the game, and still to this day, I play with the racing line on, to the point where I don't even really play it like a racing game. I play it more like a harmonics rhythm action game. I simply drive around going blue, 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 red, blue, 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 blue. And any time I try and deviate from that and use my own sort of pattern or approach into corners, it's absolute Wallsville, and I just go back to metronomically following the colours. So I got the GTR, tricked that out, put some big ugly spoilers on it, fannied about with the engine a bit, and it was just a monster. Like, whatever race I could get it qualified for, it would cream the opposition straight past them all on the first bend usually. Now, normally with a racing game, you think that would destroy the appeal, right? Whereas the racing, because all you're doing is ploughing out into the front on the first lap and then just cruising around. This to me was a revelation. This was the racing game I'd been dreaming of, because what I want to be able to do is use the lovely points I've acquired just to buy a bunch of stuff that's going to let me bully stupid Mr. AI right off the track. I don't even want to see him on the rear views. I want to see him on the map a ludicrous amount of time behind me. I want to be able to make a coffee while I'm waiting for him to finish up once I've done the race. But weirdly, or not weirdly, by this point I was just hooked on more and more BHP, more and more powerful cars. So I started on social networking sites and through the magazine's Facebook group, openly begging for people to send me cars. Strangely, people weren't that mad keen on parting with the stuff they're doing and justifiably so in their games. But I did get sent by a colleague on another magazine, a Ferrari, which I proceeded then to plant into the wall the first time I took it out, because again, my skills are just too limited, and my usual blue-red approach when you're going that quickly isn't hugely successful. So in recent weeks, my obsession slightly calmed down. See, I've kind of come to terms with the mad speed of it now. I've put on the racing tyres, the soft racing tyres, and it now grips like a murderer's hands. And I'm no longer quite chasing the next car. I don't really just obsess over credits or look to spend money wherever I can or waste every waking hour just grinding the Daytona circuit, just trying to get as many credits at all. In many ways, I'm over it.
Thanks, Tim. Oh, nothing makes a girl hotter than sweat-absorbent driving gloves and a rigorously tuned undercarriage. And while you digest that lovely image, we'll say goodbye. We'll be back with more personals soon.